Hi everyone, here's my mystery box prop. I'm just doing a small upgrade too.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, as you can see there, I've got a speaker. In the upper side of the box, I've got some LED modules. The LED modules are driven from this DMX module here. Now I'm not actually feeding DMX into this, I'm just using it to generate a test pattern.
Be gone with you.
Which, just does varying colours, just fades in and out of varying colours, which is fine for this prop. Power input comes in to here via a 24 volt to 12 volt DC converter. So this way I can run the cables longer. It's not as much voltage drop, just more reliable way of doing it. So 24 volts in, 12 volts out. And the 12 volts gets fed to the DMX module there, which feeds the lighting, which is 12 volts. And it also goes into this MP3 player board, which is actually a 5 volt unit, but I've strapped a little 12 volt to 5 volt DC converter board that I just got off eBay, strapped that to the back of it and put it in some heat shrink. So that's how it gets its 5 volt supply. And the output of the speaker output of that goes to a 50 ohm 3 watt wire wound pot to be a volume control. So this MP3 module does have volume buttons on it, but it's all inside and it's jammed inside that box when it's all together, so it's not very convenient to get to. So I just leave the MP3 player at full volume and then actually use the volume control that I've added that's directly on the speaker line to vary the volume if I need to, but I usually leave it up full anyway. But I could turn it down later at night if we sort of go further into the night and want it to be a bit quieter. So I've had this prop for a few years now, and it's quite effective. What I did tonight is I've added a couple of 2-pin connector outputs on the 12 volt side, so it goes through the DC converter, 12 volts out that feeds the lighting and into the MP3 player board by the little other converter, and I've also got it now tapped off to feed these two 2-pin connectors, and they're feeding these lights I've got there. So I can the converter is rated for 3 amps output. I'm only probably using the maximum of an amp all up for all this lighting. Actually, it's probably not even that, it's probably like half an amp at the absolute most between the MP3 player and those few LED modules. So I've got plenty of current capability on the 12 volt side of this left. So I thought, well, I often want to use this box with in conjunction with some lights anyway, like those ones. And instead of running separate wiring out to those lights from a different 12 volt power source, I had a thought, well, I can just simplify this by having the 24 volt feed come in. That's the DT series connectors I use. They're sort of like an automotive connector, a 2-pin one, using that for all the higher current stuff. So 24 volts comes to there, into the converter, out of there, and that drives the lights instead, because the lights are going to be required in the vicinity of this prop anyway, so why not provide the connectors right on the prop to do it, instead of running a separate lighting cabling around to the prop as well. So it's all about simplifying things. So that all jams back in there, the lid goes on that. There's nothing else really conductive in there, so I've got a bit of tape on the back of the pot so that if it touches the circuit board, nothing bad will happen there. So I'm going to modify some of the other props I've got with the to have an auxiliary lighting output on them, and next year hopefully I'll be a little bit more organised and setup will go a lot smoother.